Al, how's it been to kind of reunite with, Coach Shirley, and how do you like work with him the past few weeks?
It's been cool, man. My first coaching job was with Coach Early at Fayetteville High School back in 2012. So I was a senior in an internship, and my internship was with Fayetteville High School that fall, and Early was the D coordinator. So I actually got my start with Coach Early, so it's pretty cool.
Coach, did anyone else call you Alfred, or is that
Just him. Just him. And even then, over at the university, they called me Big Al. But when I went there, obviously, you got my full name on the sheet. So the head coach, Coach Darrell Patton, was Alfred. So then the D coordinator was Alfred. So it took a little getting used to be honest with you.
Coach, you mentioned before how that when you were a player, you were slower than all the other guys, and you had to, in order to get a leg up, just become a spot on the defense. How do you apply that to your coaching now as far as assessing guys' strengths and weaknesses and where they need to focus on?
Well, part of it starts with when you play in this conference, you kind of got a good feel for what it really is. Although the game evolves and it changes over time, some stuff won't change. Size, speed, ratio, right? Kid to kid, does he look like a raw kid? Is he a kid that learned it already? But me, I didn't have it naturally, so I had to get in college, get whipped into shape, and then grow. It's the same thing. Some guys we take, they're going to come in and they're going to be well coached. Some guys are going to show up. They won't be strong enough or big enough, but it's continue to push those guys the way I pushed myself when I was a player, to continue to grow and try to perfect their craft when it comes to playing a position, but also trying to become a better young man as you do that. So I just tried to apply it to the coaching as I did as a player.
Coach, you're losing a lot of depth at that defensive tackle spot. What's the growth you've seen in the other guys like Jalen, Marquise, Kai, Sam? What do they need to improve on if they want to be in the rotation?
To be honest with you, I think those guys benefited from us having those older guys, because it gave those guys time to continue to build on the small foundation that they had when they got here. Over time, I think Marquise and Jalen both in the same class, getting here at the same time, two different types of body types, two different kids, but learn from those older guys how to work, right? How to take notes, how to study the film. They get in here with Christian, like this last scrimmage that we just had on Saturday, right? They watched that with Christian on Sunday. That's growth. Marquise wouldn't have did that 2 years ago. Jalen wouldn't have did that 2 years ago. So it's just, letting the older guys kind of guide them a little bit, in which I think Willis and Josh and Jaden Jernigan did a great job with it. But also now that they're on their own, they know how to work a little bit, and it's starting to show up a little bit.
How important was it to get Christian back for another year? And was that something that he planned to do all along, or did you guys have to?
No. It was major to get him back, because you don't want to lose the whole group, right? Then, too, the kid really, he had a decision to make, to be honest with you. I do believe that Christian got here, and he found something at Mizzou that he didn't have at his previous school. He did make plays. I think the kid's smart enough to know that he left some plays out there. So he got a cut-up made for him, showed him, hey, look, these are the 7, 8 plays that you missed last year, and he wants to grow. So the first thing he did was he showed back up 8 pounds down. Right? And when you look at him right now, he look lean and mean. And that's good for him, and that's good for us too, because we need that. Losing a lot in that position, we were, fortunate to be able to grab a couple good players out of the portal, but also continue to build on the foundation we have with those younger guys, because now Jalen is 2 years older, Marquise is 2 years older, Sam Williams is a year older. So it helps us a lot to have Christian back.
What is the similarities and differences working with Coach Early? Because you just talked about how defensive end coach and defensive tackle coach have to work really well. So what's the difference from working with Coach Peoples to working with Coach Early now?
The biggest difference is Peeps was my coach in college. So I come from the same tree as Coach Peoples, so a lot of the same words and lingo and all that stuff, that won't change. What the difference between the two is, I do think both of them are elite pass rush coaches, and I got lucky. I got to work with both of them, so I get to learn all of it. You see what I'm saying? But I think the biggest difference is the way they teach pass rush. Outside of that, my relationship with both of the guys is pretty similar. I look at Peeps a little bit more like a father figure than I would Early. But this whole time, if you go back and look at the Houston roster, you'll see that Coach Early signed like 5 of my kids from Hutch. right? It was like a pipeline from Hutch to Houston for a while. Some really good D linemen, guys I coached, and then they went on to play for Coach Early. And those guys were able to transition to Houston and have good careers because they're being taught something at the junior college that just carried over. So it was a little different. It sounded a little different, came from a different person, but they could tell, they could relate to that guy. They could tell that guy had been around me and I had been around him.
What have you seen in the sort of the early days of camp of a guy like Chris McClellan?
I think he's a big athlete that moves extremely well. The style defense is a little different, so he has to get adjusted with his stance changing, playing a little bit more single gap stuff. They were in that 3-4 where he was always, a 0 or a 4 out here. He's going to play all along the line, but his movement skills are great. He got some stuff that he need to continue to work on, but it's been good having him around again because we're trying to replace a lot of depth.
It's kind of the same thing with Sterling Webb from New Mexico State. That came on the radar a little bit later, maybe. But what can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I love Sterling. Real good kid. Yes sir, no sir guy. Works extremely hard. He's a young guy that has some experience at a early age out at New Mexico. Here we didn't have those guys. Like all our guys that played were the older guys. Our young guys didn't get that same experience. So where he helps us is he bridges a gap between the Christian class and then the Jalen Marshall and Marquise class. So it was really good for us to be able to bring that kid back home because he's from St. Louis. And two, on film, you can see he played in the Auburn game last year, and you see him play against guys that's in this conference, hold his own, get off blocks, and go make plays. So he's going to be an asset for us, that's for sure.
Have you seen Christian develop as more of a leader now that he's kind of the main returner?
Oh, he was already that. He was already that. When that dog bark, everybody listen. They got to. And it's one of those deals where Christian's earned his respect around here. He's the only kid on the football team that's going to be fully dressed for football practice before we go to position meetings. He's the only kid that you're going to see up here on the off day, right, consistently. Now, some guys come in on Saturday. Most of our team comes in on Saturdays, but who's going to be here on Sunday too? Christian Williams. So he's already earned that respect. Again, he's never been on the list for missing something. He's never been on the list for missing weights, being late to class, any of that stuff. So when he talk, the whole program listens. And he earned that way before, those other three seniors got out of here and D-Rob is gone. Now, when those guys was here, if Christian said something, they listened too.
Anything else, Coach? All right, thank y'all.
I appreciate it.